let's get to it since these folks have been so patient. First of all, how great is this book?
My grandmother was a teacher and my mother was a teacher, so I have just such a fondness for people who take time in their lives and dedicate it to educating the young people and inspiring them and exciting them, so thank you for what you do. Yes, please clap for the teachers here. Who knows why we don't take care of them or pay them better? All right, can I get any sense about that? It's ridiculous.
First of all, you saw the picture of her in hot rollers, which is maybe my favorite thing in the whole book. I thought my mother...
It's the only way I know how to do my hair. I don't know how to straight iron. I know there's barrel curlers now, but I still only use hot rollers.
And I love that you're driving a car with the hot rollers, because when I was growing up, if you saw girls in a car with rollers, you knew they had a date, so they wanted everybody to see them with the rollers. So when I saw that in the book and on screen, I'm like, there she is showing off. She's got a hot date tonight.
I remember this movie, Steel Magnolias, came out. And I have this theory that if you want to be an actor or an actress, you should probably watch this one scene in Steel Magnolias where they're in the beauty salon. Because there are about 7 to 9 different actresses. They all have different motivations. They all have different friends. And they're talking, they all have different intentions, and it's probably an 11 to 14 minute scene.
Yes.
It's really long. And the entire time they are doing hair. And as it goes on and progresses through time, Dolly Parton is doing Julia Roberts' hair. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they cut away, and it's even bigger. It's bigger than the whole frame. And I just thought, this is the most amazing scene I've ever seen. And
well, you said it was like a master class in acting.
it is a master class in acting, and I also thought it's all about women supporting women and women being part of the community, and then also just Weezer. I mean, just Weezer. I mean, Shirley MacLaine as Weezer is just gold.
You are now returning to the South a lot more often and returning to your roots. One of these questions that I'm not really going to actually take seriously says, since I'm fudging, I'm an author after all, is like how much, is your own life mimicking Melanie's story? Well, let's hope you don't leave your very adorable, sweet husband, who was so nice about the book, and go out for like some redneck boyfriend of yours. But is there anything else that feels authentic to your experience from the movie?
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be back in Alabama. It is one of my favorite movies I've ever been in, Sweet Home Alabama. And it was so fun, and I loved playing Melanie Smoother. Melanie Carmichael. But I remember I had just finished a movie, and they sent me the script, and I thought, I don't know who can play this more than me. This is my life story. Because as much as I am nostalgic for where I grew up now, at the time when I was about 18 or 19 years old, I was like, I am out of here. I am never coming back. You can't stop me. And I'm gonna go do great things. And so then I read the script when I was probably 22. And I thought, that is just how I feel. Now I just want to go home. I want to go home with my mom. We ended up making the movie, and we did it in Georgia. Sorry. Spoiler. We didn't make Sweet Home Alabama in Alabama. We made it in Georgia. Sorry. But they had a tax break. Georgia. No, I got Rome, Italy, not Georgia. Is that what I said?
So, but you did go to California, and thank goodness for the movie world and our viewing pleasure. You stayed there for the most part, and you still make your home there. But how did your life change? I mean, like here you are, this Southern girl, and you went up there young and got an apartment and stuff. And did you take any of the South with you?
Well, I moved out to California when I was 18 years old. When I first started working in movies, I was about 14 or 15, and my mom insisted that I was only allowed to work in the summers, and then I had to go to college. I had to get into college, I had to go to college. So I went to Stanford, And I went for a couple months. And then they called me and they asked me to be in a movie. And I called my mother and I said, Mom, they asked me to be in a movie and it pays more than my tuition, you know, because I couldn't afford my tuition barely. And she was like, okay, well, as long as you promise to go back. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back. And another movie, and I got another movie, and then I called her like a year later. She's like, it's fine if you're doing it, but as long as you go back to college. I was like, I'm going back, Mom, I'm going back. Honestly, until I was about 27 and I bought her a house, and then she was fine.
We first met when I interviewed you for Vogue about June Carter, which, I mean, was just award-winning role. I mean, what did it mean? I mean, that not only was she brought you back to your southern Nashville roots, but she was this incredible, beloved, iconic, strong woman. What was that like? Tell us about that.
Well, it was such an honor to be asked to play June Carter Cash in Walk the Line. I remember the director called me before I got the part, and he said, "So, do you sing?" And I was like, "Yes, I sing." People tell me I'm great. And then he was like, great, you have the part. And I started panicking. And I had this experience when I was a really little girl. I was 6 years old and I was skipping rope on the blacktop at PE. And my PE teacher was this great lady, Mrs. Wright, and she was a dancer. And I thought she was so amazing. She danced in the Nashville Ballet and everything. And my parents were doctors and nurses, and I thought that was boring. And now I'm deeply appreciative of everything they did, but Ms. Wright said, now Reese, I remember I was skipping rope. She said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was skipping rope and I stopped. And I said, Dolly Parton. Yeah, it's really fun. I saw a lot of people in pink here tonight. You know, we did the 15-year anniversary of Legally Blonde, and on Twitter I said, show me your Elwood's outfit. I never expected that many people to they have their own Elwood's costume.
Actress, you have a production company that makes incredible shows now. I mean, I remember sitting with you in a restaurant in California when, you know, one of the top writers ever was like, you were sitting there talking to him about like these upcoming projects. I mean, like, you have your finger on the pulse of the most talented people and they want to work with you. To be more ambitious. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, where does that drive come from in you? Because that is a lot going on in Carol. I mean, I don't know anybody. I mean, Meryl Streep didn't like also making clothes and writing books and running around to, you know, huge theaters and being sweet to people.
Okay. I wrote this article for Glamour called "Is Ambition a Dirty Word?" And I made everybody in the audience close their eyes. I said, close your eyes, just close your eyes. I said, think of a dirty word. Think of a really dirty word. Okay, now open your eyes. Did anybody think of the word ambition?
Of course not.
Okay. Well, I just read this study out of Columbia, I think, that talked about the traits that people see in women and what are desirable and undesirable, and ambition was one of the top traits in women that is undesirable. And boy, that made me mad. Yeah. Woo, I did not like, and it used to be when I was young, I was always the lead of the movie, but then the script started changing and I was the wife or the girlfriend, which is fine. But there was always a point at the beginning of the third act where a woman would turn to a man and say, what do we do now? Now let me tell you something. In any crisis situation, do you turn to a guy and go, what do we do now?
Because you're usually the one doing it.
Yeah, I don't know any woman who behaves that way. I mean, maybe you're like, let's do this together and we gotta make a plan and what are you gonna do and what am I gonna do? But that is not how women talk or behave. And I thought, well, I gotta start making my own movies because this is ridiculous. This is not reflective of the women I know. And it is not the women I grew up with, and it is not the way that I want my daughter to see women in film. So that's why I started a company. And at the end of the speech, I just said that, you know, I think we all should think about what would the world look like if that little thing in your mind, like somebody told you you couldn't sing, right? What if I just said, no, I can't do the movie? I just can't do it because somebody told me that. What if you, whatever that thing is somebody told you can do, you did it anyway, or you tried anyway? And I think if we were all just a little bit more ambitious, just a little bit more, the whole world would change. I think so.
But like finding Big Little Lies, for example, was an amazing thing, and now, thank goodness, we have Big Little Lies season 2. I love that you're going through, I mean, you're reading all these great things and figuring out how to adapt them and stuff. Is there anything else right now that's like just making your heart go pitter-patter? Any works out there, anything you want to work on, anything? I mean, like some stuff I know you can't tell us, but is there anything you're reading that you love?
Things I can't talk about, but I can talk about Big Little Lies too. So, it's really good. And the story is sort of a Big Little Lies, which is a great story, I think, of female collaboration was. I had read Leanne Moriarty's book, The Husband's Secret. Have y'all read that?
Yeah.
So I actually had a woman on a movie set pass me the manuscript for Big Little Lies, and she said, tell me when I'm going to get in trouble if I didn't know that I gave this to you, because she worked for a different company. I said, thank you. And I read it in 24 hours, and I called my agent, and I said, I have to get the rights to this. And they said, well, that's great, but the only person also that's going to go against you for the rights is Nicole Kidman. So I was like, I've only met her once or twice. I literally only met her once or twice. And so I said, can you give me your number? And I called her and I said, Nicole, why don't we just do this together? And she was like, great. That's my Australian, by a woman named Cheryl Strait, about her mother died, and then she walked 1,000 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail. And it's beautiful. It's all about a woman in nature and finding herself and pulling her life back together. And that's where I met Laura. She actually played my mother, and in flashbacks. And so when we had the premiere of the movie, well, actually like a week before the movie premiered, I flew my mom out from Nashville and her mother, Diane Ladd, and they watched the movie together, and they held hands the whole time. What? Like it's hard? Yeah.
Predicted that.
Oh, you called it. You called it. I think the original writers approached us and said, well, we'd love to sort of, because it was such an empowering moment for girls. It sort of had this message of, you can love to get your hair done, your nails done, but also feel empowered and, you know, demand what you need in life and really reach for your dreams. And we just thought it was a great moment in time to kind of look at what it would be like for Elwoods to turn 40. So, and what the world is like to a 40-year-old woman. So you can help us out with that. That's going to be really fun. It's really cute and funny.
No, I can't wait to see that point.
And people have all kinds of platforms. They have YouTube, they have Twitter, they have Instagram. And what I would say is I encourage you to be, as much as you possibly can, be a writer, be a director, learn every part of it. Because it's actually possible now to be a female storyteller. You don't just have to be an actor. And it's really, it's just opened up in a new way that I'm really excited about. I feel very fortunate that y'all showed up tonight and waited in line.
We're so patient with
I know, you're so patient, and I'm deeply appreciative that you guys would come and hear me speak, so thank you for coming.
Well, thank you so much for doing this on behalf of sodas everywhere. And thanks for asking me to do this.
Yes, thank you, Julia Reed. Thank you. And thanks, y'all. Thanks for coming.